What's going on, everybody? Welcome to this session. I am so glad you're here, which, by the way, if you're here, what I can tell about you is you're an action taker and you want to get to the next level of life. And more importantly, you're taking time out of your day, your time and your energy, your two most valuable assets to come here to learn so you can get to the next level of life. Now, some of you may know who I am, some of you may not. So I'm just going to give a quick context and some cool housekeeping items so you get the most out of this session. Because the truth is, I know you're not here to waste my time, and I know you're not here to waste your time as well. And I'm going to give you tactical strategies so you can have more wellness in your life, so you can be more whole, whether that's your body, your mind, your relationships, your wealth. I'm going to give you tactical strategies so you can help you get there quicker and go further faster. And so some of the questions that you may have as you look at me is, what happened to this guy? Why does he have no legs and one arm? And so in 1996, my parents went in for a late ultrasound. They sat them down, they pulled the baby up on the screen, and suddenly the doctor started freaking out. They said, "What's wrong? What's going on?" And they said, "Well, from the looks of it, it doesn't look like your baby's limbs are being developed. It looks like he's missing his legs, his arm, his face might be messed up. Clearly, they messed up about my face." And in that moment, they classified me with what they call Hanhart syndrome. And Hanhart syndrome is a super rare genetic disorder that either leaves the babies with undeveloped limbs or undeveloped organs. And at the time of my birth in 1996, I was the 12th baby in medical history that they've ever seen this happen to. And out of the 12, 8 of those babies have passed away due to undeveloped organs. Now, before I get into my teachings, I was born like this, right? But before I get into my teachings, I'm going to say things that are going to allow you to go further faster. I'm going to say things that you say, "Wow, I wish I learned that 5, 6, 7 years ago." Now, I want you to get the most out of this session. And so, studies show, when it talks about the brain, studies show that when you sit there passively, you actually retain about 7 to 10% of the information. That's why I didn't learn much in school, because I didn't write anything down, right? Now, if you want to take your retention, wherever you are, whether it's this summit, whether it's this session, whether it's over here in your new occupation, whatever it may be, I want you to retain the information. And so if you want to go up to 40 to 50% retention, you physically write things down. Because when you physically write things down, you actually ingrain it into your body and your nervous system a little bit more. So if you're up for it, as you're going through the session, I would highly suggest that you write things down so you take it to 40 to 50% retention. Now, if you want to take it to a superhuman level, which, by the way, this superhuman retention I use anywhere, whether it's in my business, my life, conferences, whatever it may be, if you want to retain information at 80 to 90%, imagine everywhere you went, whether it was in your business, whether it was at school, whatever it may be, that you retained 80 to 90% of the information. Where would we be? We'd be a lot further ahead. And so if you want to retain the information at 80 to 90%, anytime that I say yes, anytime that I say put your hand up, whatever it may be, I want you to do it. Not because it's rah-rah and it's inspirational, but the more that you move your body, the more you will retain the information, because I want you to write this down. All learning is state-based. All learning is state-based. And what that means is, based on your emotional state and how you're sitting and how you're feeling, is going to determine how much of the information you retain, right? So if we're sitting and we're slumped here, we're not going to retain the information, but we sit upright and we're ready to rock and roll. We're ready to write. We're ready to call on ourselves, say yes, drop it in the chat, whatever it may be. That's not to be rah-rah. That's so you can retain the information. So that's the first thing. The second thing is, I'm not here to give you answers. Who am I? I'm not here to give you answers. You're not broken. You're not fixed. There's nothing wrong with you. But what I am here to do, and as you see, I got a little Baby Yoda up here. People call me Baby Yoda. And the reason why is because not only am I short, I have a lot of wisdom. But more importantly, I'm here to ask you really great questions, because what I've learned about working with some of the most successful minds in the world is that great leaders ask great questions to lead you to your own answers. Let me say that again. Great leaders ask you great questions to lead you to your own answers. Because if I said, this is the way to live and this is the way to get well-being and wellness, you'd be like, okay, that's Nick's way. But if I asked you a specific question that led you to your own answer, would you agree that you're going to take action on your answer versus mine? If it's true, drop a yes in the chat, right? So I'm not here to give you answers. I'm just here to share some wisdom, to share some perspectives and some strategies, and more importantly, to ask you really great questions. Now, when it comes down to the brain, the reason why we ask great questions is because, why this is so powerful, is because your brain is a problem-solving mechanism. And it's always going to give you an answer to the questions that you ask it. The truth is, most humans go around asking bad questions. And if you ask bad questions, what kind of answers do you get? Quick in the chat. That's right. You get bad answers. And so the majority of the time we're going around life and we're asking bad questions. Questions like, why am I failure? Why am I failing? What's wrong with me? Why can't I do this? Why am I not a good sister? Why am I not a good brother? Why can't I get a raise? Why can't I get into that class? Whatever it may be. And when you ask a bad question, your brain's going to give you all the reasons why you can't do it, whether they're true or false. So I want you to write down, I want you to note this, and I want you to live by this if you're up for it, is that the quality of your life comes down to the quality of the questions you ask yourself on a day-to-day basis. The quality of my life comes down to the quality of the questions I ask myself on a day-to-day basis, right? And then a last little housekeeping item, because now we know how to retain the information. Now we know how to ask great questions. The third and final thing is understanding the concept that change is hard. Change is scary. And the reason why change is so hard is because a part of you needs to die that no longer serves you. A part of you need to let go of beliefs and thoughts and triggers and actions and emotions that don't serve you, and that's really hard. The other reason why change is hard is because average is easy. It's easy to be average. Average is all around you. But if you're up for living a life that most people don't have, we have to be willing to do things that most people won't do. And the reason why I say that is because during this session, I'm going to say things. They may make you sad, angry, laugh, triggered, whatever it may be. If I say something and it makes you feel a certain way, I want you to note it. I want you to write it down, because the truth is, if it makes you feel a certain way, that's your brain saying, hey, there's work that needs to be done here. But also the reason why change is so hard is because there's a small gap that you can change. I call this the portal of transformation. And so what I mean by that is during the session as well, I may say things and I may teach something and something may hit home, and a portal of transformation is going to open. Meaning you might get a thought like, maybe I should apologize to this person. Maybe I should call my dad. Maybe I should do this. Maybe I should do that. The portal is open because I said it. But most people won't jump through the portal because it's scary and it's unknown and it's uncertain. It's dark. My advice to you, if you're up for it, is to jump. Is to jump through the portal. Is to follow through on some of the things that I say during the session. Is to call that person, to apologize here, to do that thing so you can have a different life, so you can break away from the pattern, right? So that's something that we call the portal of transformation. And the reason why the portal of transformation opens is because with human psychology, humans will change for two reasons. Humans will change because they experience enough pain, or humans will change because they experience enough pleasure. But the truth is, humans will run away from pain faster than they run towards pleasure. Meaning, you don't start going to the gym until your doctor says, hey, you're overweight. You don't start going to the gym until you finally get broken up with. You don't start building a business until you finally have rock bottom. You have nowhere to go because you experience enough pain. I don't know if you've ever been there. Have you ever been there where you hit a pain threshold where you said, I'm done. This is it. No more. And you decided. You decided to end the relationship. You decided to eat healthy. You decided to go to the gym. You decided to build a business. You decided to go in the class, whatever it may be. You decided to go to the wellness summit. Everything comes down to a decision once you get enough leverage. That's what we're gonna help you do today. All right. So these are some of the housekeeping items: how to retain the information, how to ask great questions, and understand that the portal of transformation is very small. And I don't have a leg to kick you through, so you got to jump through it yourself. So let's dive in. So as I said, the doctors gave my parents, they said Nick has about a 30% chance to live. And in that moment, my parents made a massive decision and a massive promise. And I promise you there's a lesson in here for you. The promise was that they were going to focus on the 30% chance of me living versus the 70% chance of me passing away. The reason being, I want you to write this down, is what I focus on, I get more of. What I focus on expands. But more importantly, what I focus on, I feel. And what I feel is my life. True? What I focus on, I get more of. What I focus on, I expands. But more importantly, what I focus on, I feel. and what I feel is my life. So, Nick, are you telling us that I can focus on something and it can make me happy, but I can also focus on something over here and it can make me insecure? It can make me angry. It can make me upset. It can make me sad. That's the truth. And what you feel is your life. And if what you feel is your life, I want you to note in your notes that the quality of my life also comes down to the quality of the emotions I feel on a day-to-day basis. True or false? Drop it in the chat. True or false? The quality of my life comes down to the quality of the emotions I feel on a day-to-day basis. And I'll prove it to you. How many of you know people in your family or friends that have a bunch of money that are still pissed off and angry? If you know what I'm talking about, drop a yes in the chat. And then you go take a trip to Mexico or somewhere, you go take a trip, maybe a third world country, and you see kids and they're kicking a can and they're happier than you. Who's really rich? It's the kid who's happy. Don't get me wrong, I want you to have money, but first you need to have a specific quality of emotions so you can feel a specific way. Same thing with me. Man with no legs and arm. People say, how are you so happy? I trained myself to be this way. Which, by the way, most of us have been jaded by the word mindset. And it's not your fault. The word mindset has been thrown around left and right. No one really knows what it is. And a lot of the times, correct me if I'm wrong, but a lot of times when you hear the word mindset, you immediately think of motivation. Mindset isn't motivation. Mindset is training your body and your mind with enough repetition, consistency, and intensity to change the biochemistry of your body, to actually unwire and rewire neural pathways. That's what mindset is. It's not motivation. And that's what we're going to go deep on today. So what I focus on expands, what I focus on I feel, and what I feel is my life. What I'm going to go through right now with you is a focus evaluation. There's no right answer. There's no wrong answer. This is just helping you become aware, because I promise you, if you want wellness in all areas of your life, one of the most important skills that you can acquire, I want you to note it, one of the most important skills that you can acquire is called pattern recognition. Pattern recognition. And what that means is there's patterns, unconscious patterns in you that make you pissed off. There's patterns in you that make you angry, anxious, stressed, anxiety, overwhelmed. There's also patterns in you that make you happy, that make you fulfilled, that make you confident, that make you feel good and beautiful, whatever it may be. But what I'm going to help you do is adopt this skill or this tool of pattern recognition, because the truth is the majority of the things that are holding humans back are unconscious. We're not aware of them. But once we take something that's unaware and someone like me, Baby Yoda, puts a spotlight on it and it becomes conscious now, once a pattern is conscious, you can then strip power away from it. Does that make sense? If that makes sense, drop a yes in the chat, right? So most of the things that are holding us back are unconscious. Once we're aware of them, we put the spotlight on them, then we can strip power away from them. Which, by the way, during the session, if I make patterns in your life aware that are holding you back and you don't change them, that's only your fault. True? If I make you aware of something that's holding you back and you still don't eliminate it or try to destroy it, that's only on you. But I can just help you get you more aware. So what we're going to do right now is called a focus evaluation. I want you to note this. These are the 3 focus patterns that screw most humans, entrepreneurs, students up. It's 3 patterns that ruin most people, but can also make people really successful and really happy and really fulfilled. Ready? So by the way, there's no right or wrong answer. And when you're answering these questions, listen to me. Don't BS. The truth will set you free. And don't tell the truth for me. I do the work. Do the truth for you so you can set yourself free. So you can stop BSing yourself so you can get to the next level of life. Because, by the way, I may say things that make you angry, upset, whatever it may be, but the one thing that I'll do is hold you to a higher standard of life, because I know you have more to be, more to give, more to serve, more to do, and more to experience. If that's okay, drop a yes in the chat. If it's okay for me to hold you to a higher standard of life, drop a yes in the chat. Right? So let's go through these 3 focus patterns. The first focus pattern: in my life, the majority of the times, do I focus on the things that I have or the things that I don't have? In my life, the majority of the times, do I focus on the things that I have or the things that I don't have? Now in the chat, if you find yourself a lot, by the way, no right or wrong answer. I'm not walking you into a trap. There's no right or wrong answer. How many of you find yourself a lot of the times focusing on the things that you don't have? Drop a 1 in the chat. Right? There you go. Thanks for playing full out on this too. How many of you find yourself focusing on the things that you do have? Drop a 2 in the chat. If you have, drop a 2. If you don't have, drop a 1. Yeah. How many of you are a little bit of both? Right? How many of you ain't going to type or raise your hand regardless of what Nick says? I see you. Right? So, in my life, the majority of the times, do I focus on the things that I have or the things that I don't have? Now, for those that don't have, maybe it's goals and ambitions and achievements and things you want to achieve. But also, one of the greatest patterns that I've identified with working with over 1 million entrepreneurs live is we tend to focus on what we lack. We tend to focus on what we lack. And when we focus on what we lack, do we feel good or we feel bad? Quick in the chat. When I focus on what I don't have and what I can't achieve, do I feel good about it or feel bad about that? I feel bad about it. And the truth is, if you want to know, when I feel bad, I won't take action. When I feel bad or feel terrible, I won't take action. Versus if I feel amazing, I'll take better action. Yes or no? Right? Now, easy example, man with no legs of an arm. If I woke up every single day and focus on all the things that I don't have, would my quality of life be good or bad? Quick in the chat. If a man with no legs of an arm focus on all the things that it doesn't have, would my quality of life be good or would it be bad? It'd be bad. So instead, I train my brain to focus on all the things that I do have. Yes? By the way, all the things that I'm teaching you over this session are all muscles and skills that you can acquire. They're in you. You just got to exercise them, just like a muscle, going to the gym. Right? Now, the second focus pattern, the second focus pattern in my life, the majority of the times, do I focus on the things that I can control or the things that I can't control? In my life, the majority of the times, do I focus on the things that I can control or the things that I can't control? Right? Now, if you find yourself focusing on things that you can't control, drop a 1 in the chat. Quick. Right? Appreciate your honesty. Now, if you find yourself trying to focus on the things that you can control, drop a 2 in the chat. Very good. How many of you a little bit of both? Drop a yes to the chat if you're a little bit of both. Right? Now, I'm telling you this because your success is directly correlated to how much chaos you can withstand. I'll say it again. Your success is directly correlated to how much chaos you can withstand. And I can bet there's a majority of people in here that are focusing on things that they can't control, that are getting pissed off and angry, and you can't control them, and you're wasting your energy. Your energy could be invested in something that's more powerful. Yes or no? True or false? True? Right? Which, by the way, would you agree there's a lot of things that we can't control? Can't control the shutdowns, can't control pandemics, can't control wars, can't control inflation, whatever it may be. There's a lot of things that we can't control. But when we focus on the things that we can't control, we feel anxiety, we feel stress, we feel fear. And when you're fearful, you won't take action as well. But I'm going to note a few things that you can control that are some of the most powerful things, that if you focus on these things, life will never be the same. Note them. The first thing that I can control is the content I'm consuming on a day-to-day basis. You see, most people wake up, they pick up their phones, they see pissed off emails, text messages, phone calls, they swipe on Instagram, see someone in a private jet, they see a war, whatever it may be, and they expect to have an amazing day right off the bat. It's not going to happen, right? So I'd highly suggest even when you wake up, you don't touch your phone for 30 minutes. Now, some of you are looking at me like, what is this? I got to touch my phone. No, you can do it. You can give yourself the gift of being a human for 30 minutes and having some grace and having some peace and stillness. Yes. But the first thing that I can control is the content that I consume on a day-to-day basis, right? So your brain is a garden. Let's give this analogy. Your brain is a garden. If I planted corn in my brain, what am I going to get? Quick in the chat. Corn. If I planted an apple tree in my brain, what am I going to get? Quick. An apple tree, right? Now, if I planted poop in my brain, what am I going to get? Poop. A lot of people don't understand why they're so negative. It's because the content that they're consuming on a day-to-day basis is programming them. Yeah? Right? Now, the second thing that I can control that is going to help my wellness and my well-being in all areas of my life, right? The second thing that I can control is the community, the people I surround myself with on a day-to-day basis. True or false? This is a tough one for a lot of people. And let me say it in the most polite way. If you hang around people who have toxic relationships, it's only a matter of time before you start having toxic relationships. You hang around people who are overweight, it's only a matter of time before you start becoming overweight. You hang around people who are unhealthy, it's only a matter of time before you start picking up on unhealthy habits. And if you hang around people who have low standards, it's only a matter of time before you start lowering your own damn standards. True or false? Quick in the chat. True or false? True. Right? Now, don't go home and say, hey, mom and dad, go to your friends and be like, this guy with no legs, no arm, he told me to cut you off. You're done. Don't do that. That doesn't make me look so good. I'm not saying to cut them off. Because the truth is, you tell me, sometimes it's your closest family and friends that may not align with your vision, that may not align with your growth, that may not align with what you got going on, and you can't accept that. So it irks you. It gets you upset. That's okay. I'm not telling you to cut these people off, but I want you to note you can do what I call loving them from afar. You love these people from afar. You separate a little bit, not a lot. You don't need to like shun them. I mean, some of your friends, I could probably tell you they're pulling you this way, they're pulling you back. Maybe, right? But for your family and friends, you don't need to push these people away. You just be very conscious of how much time and energy you're giving these people, because you want to focus your energy on the better content, the higher standards, whatever it may be, so you can elevate to the next level of life, right? True or false? And that's hard. Sometimes you're close to family and friends. Don't cut them off. You just love them from afar, right? So we can control the content that we consume on a day-to-day basis. We can control the people that we surround ourselves with on a day-to-day basis. And what I just taught you is we can control our focus. Our focus. Because the truth is, your anxiety, your stress, your overwhelm is self-induced by what you're focusing on. And I'll break that down, don't worry. But what's pretty interesting that I want you to note is when you're feeling anxiety or you're feeling excitement, guess what? Your brain releases the same chemicals. You give the meaning, whether it's excitement or anxiety. And in this world that we live in, we've been conditioned. It's way easier to say, I'm full of anxiety. I'm having an anxiety attack. I'm feeling anxious. What if you change the meaning of the emotion you're feeling? You said, I'm not anxious, I'm excited. And you program your brain every time that you felt that feeling inside that used to be anxious, this is now excitement. Would you be further ahead if you were excited about things rather than anxious and anxiety filled? Right? Now, why controlling your focus is so important? Because remember, if what you focus on, you feel, what you feel is your life. And based on how you feel, you're going to get specific results in your life. But another thing that I wanted to teach you is a lot of you have misdiagnosed yourself. Nick, what do you mean I've misdiagnosed yourself? Well, a lot of you, myself included, I'll give you an example. I was 14 or 15 years old and I was on a school bus. And as you can see, a man with no legs of an arm, self-worth and confidence didn't come naturally to me, which, by the way, I'll teach you how to build confidence. But I was on a bus one time and there was a girl to the left of me and she was making fun of everyone. And I said, oh man, she's going to have a field day with me, right? And I looked over to my left and she looked at me in my eyes and she said, Nick, I don't even have to start with you. You're already too messed up anyway. Look at you. I was a 14-year-old kid. The first question that pops in my head is, why me? But what's pretty interesting is bad stuff's going to happen to all of us, right? Things are going to happen to all of us. But what we tend to do as humans is we tend to stack thoughts. So what I mean by that is if you've ever woken up on the wrong side of the bed, your whole day tends to be negative if you don't catch your patterns and your focus. True or false? You're pissed off. You got to go to school. You got to go here. Your tire pressure's off. Traffic. The weather's not the way you want it to be. Your brain starts finding, right? Your brain starts finding all the negatives. So you got to break that pattern. So when that girl said that to me on the bus, I started to stack thoughts. And the thoughts that I stack with were, Nick, maybe you are disgusting. Maybe girls will never like you because you have no legs of an arm. Maybe you'll never have a job. Maybe you'll never have a family. Maybe you'll never have a wife. Nick, maybe you'll never go to your junior prom or your senior prom. And it's stacked and it's stacked and it's stacked. Welcome to your downward spiral. This is how it happens. But what we also do is we tend to misdiagnose ourselves. So a bad thing happens to us, and because the experience isn't the experience that we want, we then develop beliefs about who we are and what we're capable of. True or false? So the girl tells me this, I then develop beliefs that I am disgusting, that girls don't like me because I have no legs, one arm, that I won't go to my junior prom, I won't go to my senior prom, I'll be lonely. And then I develop beliefs. because of the specific experience I got. Now, how this may show up in your life is you may have got cheated on. And because you got cheated on, you then develop a belief that all guys and girls are cheaters. Now, because you have that belief, you're projecting into the future. And what's going to happen? You're going to attract another cheater. Same cycle, same life. Does that relate? Or you may get into a specific job after this. Say it's a sales job. Say you get into a sales job and you go to sell the first person and they tell you no. Because that experience, you may develop a belief about, wait, hey, maybe this isn't for me. Maybe sales isn't for me. Maybe the wellness summit isn't for me, whatever it may be. And you tend to misdiagnose yourself based off an experience because the experience didn't go the way you wanted to go. So note it. If you want to live a superhuman life, if you want to have wellness and have well-being in all areas of your life, you must write down, I have to be persistent enough to get new results and new experiences so I have new beliefs about who I am and what I'm capable of. I have to be persistent enough to get a new result or a new experience so that I can then develop beliefs about who I am and what I'm capable of. Good beliefs. Good beliefs. Will I be persistent enough to get new results and new experiences? And in the chat, have you ever misdiagnosed yourself? Drop in the chat, true or false, yes or no. Have I ever misdiagnosed yourself? And that's okay. You can identify where that came from and then you can strip power away from it. But we've all misdiagnosed ourselves. We're humans. This is Earth School. The most dangerous information is the information that you don't know. And I know during the session, you're learning things that you never learned before, and life will never be the same because you have this information. So I want to come here and serve, right? So where in my life have I misdiagnosed myself? Or what's the current belief or what's current stories that I tell myself that are holding me back from the next level of life? I don't have the time. I don't have the money. I don't have the resources. Listen, it's a never lack of resources that's wrong in your life. It's a lack of you being resourceful. Let me say that again. It's never a lack of resources that's the problem. It's a lack of being resourceful, being in a resourceful state. When you're pissed off, when you're angry, when you're stressed, when you're overwhelmed, you're not going to think of solutions. You're in your head. But when you drop down in your heart, when you're filled with gratitude, appreciation, joy, love, certainty, you find a way. You always find a way. You're a human. You always find a way, right? So you can even ask yourself, where in my life do I focus on things that make me feel terrible? Or the next time that you feel anxiety, you feel stress, you feel overwhelmed, you feel angry, you feel insecurity, don't act on it. Just be like, okay, here's the emotion. What was I focusing on that self-induced it so I can stop focusing on that stuff to feel that way? I must shift my focus, right? And now you're exercising the muscle of pattern recognition. This is how a man with no legs of an arm has been able to train himself to be in an amazing, beautiful states. States like joy, happiness, certainty, love, whatever it may be. This is the difference between having terrible days and having terrible minutes. Most humans have terrible days. I have terrible minutes because I know how to snap out of it by shifting my focus. The last thing that I'm going to leave you with that I think is one of the most powerful things that makes up how you feel, your physiology, is the language and the meaning that you give things. The language and the meaning that you give things. So for example, language. Language makes you feel a specific way, and I'll prove it to you. Have you ever heard someone say, she stabbed me in the back? Where's the knife? You see how humans, with their language, made an event way more extreme by the language that they use. She didn't get stabbed in the back. Maybe she did her wrong or whatever it may be, but she didn't get stabbed in the back. Or I'm going to have a heart attack. I almost had a heart attack. You see how extreme we make things with the language, and based on the language we feel, right? But all of us interpret words in a different way, and I'll prove it to you. In the chat right now, let's play a quick game. I want you in the chat right now, the first 3 words that come to your mind when you think of the word love. Go. What are the first 3 words that you can describe love? Go in the chat. Yep. What are the first 3 words that come to your mind when I say the word love? Now, look at the chat. We're all humans. We all got the brain. But everybody has different 3 describing words when they think of love. That's how powerful language is. We all interpret language differently. Now, the next point, meaning. The meaning that you give things. We are meaning makers. Humans are in control of the meaning that they give things. You can give things a bad meaning, you give things a good meaning. This could be the difference between a human life and a superhuman life. This could be the difference between no well-being and massive well-being, right? So I'll give you an example. I was on a plane, and it was Southwest Flight 244. And do you know what happens when you roll up into the terminal in a wheelchair? Does anyone know in the chat? What happens when you roll up in a wheelchair? You get to skip the line, right? So I skipped the line, and they roll me down, and I'm the first person in the plane, and I sat in the first row, and I sat towards the window, so there was 2 seats to the right of me, so 2 other people can have the best seats in the plane. And I remember the flight attendant saying, "Honey, this is going to be a full flight." I said, "No worries, no worries. I already got my seat." And the plane started filling in. The plane started filling in, and people are looking at me and then looking away, or, "Hey, look at that guy." And over the 25 years of my life, I'm in tune with this stuff. I see it more than other people would see it. And so the plane started filling in, and no one wanted to sit next to me. And I'm trying to be a stud, but I'm looking out the window, I'm tearing up. And finally, 2 gentlemen had to sit down, and I'm asking myself, I said, "Nick, what would you tell the people you speak to? What would you tell the entrepreneurs, the kids? What would you tell them?" And I said, "It's the meaning I give this." And so I said, "Nick, you can cry all the way home. You can let this affect your day, your week, your month. Or Nick could celebrate the fact that he has the most legroom in this plane. Snap your fingers for me, I'll pretend." In the snap of a finger, I took a situation that was a loss. In the snap of a finger, I took a situation that was negative and I turned it into a win. I turned it into a positive. How? By changing the meaning of the situation. When you change the meaning, you change your life. When you change your story, you change your life. For 19 years in my 25, I'm 25 years old. For 19 years, I thought my body was the biggest curse. The most disgusting thing that could happen to me. Until I asked myself a better question. I said, "Nick, what's right about having no legs and one arm?" My brain gave me the answer. It says, Nick, if a girl doesn't want to be your girlfriend, and someone doesn't want to be your friend, if someone doesn't want to do business with you because you're no legs and one arm, wait. Maybe this disability or whatever you want to call it is actually working for you as an authentic human filter and filtering out the type of men and women that you don't want in your life anyway. How empowering is that? Because I changed the story. I changed the meaning. In your past right now, you have events that are holding you hostage. You're playing the cause and effect game. Because of that event, this is why I'm this way. Because of this is why I'm not successful. Because of that, it's time to take 100% accountability and find the gifts and find the learnings and change the meaning to the things that are holding you back so you can use them as fuel. Because when you truly adopt mastering meaning, when you can find the meaning, when you can find the gifts, when you find the learnings, that's when you'll understand the concept that the world isn't happening to you. It's happening for you. That's when you truly embody that the world isn't happening to me. It's happening for me. The truth is, you wouldn't be the man or woman you are today if you didn't go through all the BS you had to go through, true or false. Your adversity, your downs, your struggles, they cultivated you into something amazing, something strong, something empathetic, something compassionate. And who knows where you or I would be without our adversity and our struggle. My friends, these are all tools and skills that you must exercise. Just like the gym. I skip legs, but just like the gym, if I go into the gym and I only lift arm once, my arm isn't going to be jacked for life. I have to constantly train it. And I'll leave you here with this. There's 3 parts of the brain. There's the thinking, the doing, and the being. You remember the first time you drove a car? You were freaking out. You got in there, you're putting your seatbelt on, you're checking the mirrors. The person to the right of you is probably making you feel overwhelmed. Then you finally backed out of the driveway and you were on your way. And then what happened? You got a few more reps. Next time, fifth, sixth time, you get in the car, you throw your seatbelt on, the mirrors are already done, you turn the music up, they're turning the music down, you're like, come on, let's enjoy it, right? And it was getting better. Now y'all do things that you shouldn't be doing while you drive. Or have you ever driven to point A to point Z and said, where did time go? That's because you've done a specific act with enough repetition until you went from thinking to doing to being. Confidence is a muscle. Exercising, having amazing emotions is a muscle. Training your focus is a muscle. But now you're aware of the tools and the strategies and the skills and the muscles you need to exercise. The real challenge is, will you implement? Because knowledge is potential power. The real power comes from implementation. Don't be that guy or girl who takes all these notes, closes their book, and never looks at them again. Remember, nicking his one finger and do one thing today that's going to push you closer to more wellness, more well-being, whether that's in your body, your mind, your relationships, and your wealth. And I promise you, if you finally make these small little shifts and you continue the pursuit of growth, you will have a life that most people always dream of. I'm Nick Santonastasso. Send in love, stay victorious. Baby Yoda's out.